avoidance of pain also is a desirable end, and therefore desisting from the activity becomes a means for avoiding pain, therefore I refrain from that activity. So kalanja bhakshanadikam heyam is something that should be given up. Man nivritti prayatna karyamidi, so that giving up of eating the meat, I have been eating meat or I desire to eat meat. So I have to make an effort to give it up. Because it is natural desire to do a given thing, and therefore I have to make an effort to keep my desire within myself and restrain myself. So restraining my natural tendency also becomes an action. So mat nivritti prayatna karyamidi tat karyatva jnana nivritti rupa prayatna abhinna tushnim bhava rupa nivritti janyate. So even if meat is presented to me, I don't do anything. That is called tushnim bhava. I keep away from it. That is a nivritti. In my mind I want to eat. Like the doctor declares that you have diabetes, 300 is the sugar, blood sugar. Now even if they serve me rasagulla, there is nivritti on my part. Why? Because rasagulla is, I desire it all right, but it is what? It is a means for some pain and suffering. Therefore, I stay away from it. Doctors warned me also. If you continue to eat Swamiji, that's it. All kinds of problems with blood, with diabetes. Tushnim bhava. People say, what is self-control? But we know, self-control is what? Because we know it as dukkha sadhanam, that's all, Tushnim bhava rupa nivritti janyate. And therefore, there is nivritti which also is of the nature of restrainment. Like applying brake to the car, which otherwise would slide down. Tataha tasyam karyatva jnanajanyatvam vartate. That way in nivritti also, there is karyatva jnanam, and pravritti also, karyatva jnanam is there. Tathacha heyasya nivritti prayatna karyatvam nama. Somebody would say, nivritti, where is the prayatna involved? Somebody would say, when you don't do something, how can you call it activity? When you do something, you can call it karma. When you are not doing something, when the fellow is keeping quiet or is just, is inactive, how do you say that he is doing something? There also he is doing something. Nivritti paripalya prag bhava pratiyogitvam. The idea is that there is a natural tendency to do something. And therefore to restrain that natural tendency also requires an effort, a mental effort. Even though outwardly the limbs are not acting, inwardly a lot of control is there inside, that I don't want to do. Sometimes you feel like giving someone, Sometimes it happens. This fellow says, your child says words with just, but you just heard in the class. So, himna himsyat sarva bhutani, you should not hurt anybody. You remember that instruction, that you should not hurt, should not beat your child or hit him. And therefore, you clench your teeth and keep your anger within yourself. And out, no action proceeds. But to stay away from giving one slap to the child, a lot of activity is required on your part. So that is also activity of the nature of nivritti. So natural tendency is restraint. Nivritti paripalya pragabhava pratiyogitvam. Pragabhava means a potential. Potential of doing that is there, and that potential is not expressed, is only kept as potential and not permitted as an activity. So potential of an action is kept as potential, retained as potential. Pragabhava is retained, paripalya. So this nivritti retains that pragabhava, meaning it retains only in the potential stage, does not result into an action or karya. That is called nivritti. So not that the tendency goes away, the tendency is not expressed, that's all. And therefore, that is how you save from the calamity that action will bring about. Iti purastha, this was said earlier, eva uktam iti bhavaha. So Ratnavara said, techa karya jnana, it is pravritti and nivritti, both of them are brought about as a result of a conviction on my part that I should do this or I should refrain from doing things. Iti karya paratvam shastrasya, shastram karya param. So shastra means what? This vidhi and nisheda. And vidhi does what? Pravritti. Nisheda is what? Nivritti. And this pravritti and nivritti instructions generates in me what knowledge or conviction? Karyam or akaryam. And therefore, karyam in fact, karya paratvam shastrasya. Therefore we say that Shastra is totally devoted to generating in the listeners or in the people the knowledge of what should be done. That is how the whole Shastra is. So Vedanta being Shastra also falls in the same category. Tataha Karyasheshatvam Brahmana. Therefore, Brahmana Karyashe. Brahma also is Karyashesham. Brahman, whatever if Shastra says something about Brahman, that also must have a purpose with reference to something to do. Like Yupa, Ahavaniya, Aditya, all of these are described not for the sake of Aditya, etc., for the sake of some kind of an activity, some ritual, etc., or worship. Similarly, also Brahman is presented by Shastra. Definitely, the purpose must be presenting Brahma as a component of some activity. Shastrasya niyogaparatve vruddha sammatim aha. Now, Bhashyakara means from the standpoint of the Purvapakshi presents the vruddha sammatim. So different Shruti, Yukti as well as Aptavakya. So this is your own conclusion about the Shastra, or is this conclusion on your part? What is the conclusion of the Purvapakshi? That the purpose of Shastra is to create an activity. So Karyasheshatvam or Karyaparatvam Shastrasya. That Shastra is devoted to Karya or activity. This is his conclusion. But that's your conclusion. Does it have a concurrence from someone else? Have some recognized authorities also accepted this conclusion of yours, or is it your own personal conclusion? So we don't accept it just because somebody says. So what? But he also says. Gandhiji also said that. Nehru also said that. Tagore also, somebody said it. Einstein, whatever it is. So those people who are accepted as some aptas or authorities, when they say, then a given Shastra also gains, or our own opinion also gains a confirmation. So this also is a style, that whenever we want to present our opinion, we also present a confirmation or concurrence of some elders or some recognized people, so that our opinion also gets a certain strength. And therefore, Shastrasya niyogaparatve. Niyogaparatvam means karyaparatvam, or vidhiparatvam, or dharmaparatvam. Vruddha sammatim aha. Vruddha means elderly people, recognized people. Sammatim, their mati. Sammati means their concurrence also is being stated. That they also say the same thing. Tathahi ityadina. So Bhashyakara says, Tathahi Shastra tatparya vidah ahuhu drashto hi tasyarthah karmavabodhanam iti chodhaneti kriyayah pravartakam vachanam tasya jnanam upadeshah tadbhutanam क्रियार्थेन समाम्नायः आम्नायस्य क्रियार्थत्वा अनर्थक्यमतदर्थानाम् इति च अतः पुरुषं क्वचिद् विषय विशेषे प्रवर्तयत कुतश्चिद् विषय विशेषात् निवर्तयच्च अर्थवच्छास्त्रम तच्छेषतया च अन्यदुपयुक्तम तत्सामान्य वेदान्तानामपि तथैव अर्थवत्वं स्यात्. Says Bhashya Tathahi, to illustrate. Shastra tatparya vidah ahu. Not only we say that, Purvapakshi says, Shastra tatparya vidah. Those who know the tatparya, the purport of the Shastra, this is what they say. These are their words. There are two authorities are quoted here. One is Jaimini, who is the Mimamsa Sutrakara. Another is the Bhashyakara of Jaimini Sutra. His name is Shabara. He is called Shabara Swami. And therefore, that Bhashya is called Shabara Bhashya. Just as Bhashyakara of Brahma Sutra is Shankaracharya, so this Bhashya is called Shankara Bhashya. Similarly, Shabara Swami is the commentator there, so that Bhashya is called Shabara Bhashya. So these two authorities are presented as concurring the opinion that the Shastra has its Tatparya in Kriya. So first are the two statements of Bhashya of Saraswati. Drashto hi tasyartha karmavabodhanamiti. Tasya means Vedasya artha drashtaha. We find that karmavabodhanam iti tasya artha drashtaha. We find that to make us know karma or the kriya or action is the purpose or the purport of the Shastra. This is what Shabara Swami says. Also then says, this is the statement that is taken from the bhashya of the first sutra, Athato Dharma Jignasa. Then the second sutra, so of Chodana. So Chodana iti kriyayaha pravartakam vachanam. Chodana lakshanaha arthaha dharmaha. So that second sutra, from that the statement is taken. Chodana. What is meant by Chodana? Chodana means instruction. So kriyayaha pravartakam vachanam. A statement which prompts you, or which impels you rather. A statement which impels you into kriya is called Chodana. Chodana lakshanaha arthaha dharmaha, which we discussed earlier. Dharma is what? Chodana is a lakshanam. Any vakya that impels you into activity, that vakya becomes dharma. And it is artha, meaning it is ishta sadhanam. So that which is simultaneously of the nature of instruction, which impels you into activity, at the same time that which is also a means for is ishta sadhanam. Artha means or arthavan. So that which is also artha there again prayojanavan. So that which also becomes a means for attainment of something desirable, this is called dharma. So that word chodana is impelling, is explained as kriyayaha pravartakam vachanam. So what is dharma? Dharma is that vakya is called dharma, of which chodana is the characteristic. And what is chodana? That which impels you into activity. So dharma is that which impels you into activity. So dharma is characterized by a statement which is of the nature of impelling into activity, and dharma being the purpose of the Shastra, therefore Shastra has the purpose in impelling in activity. Then are quoted several sutras of Jaimini. Tasya jnanam upadesha. Upadesha also is a vakya, vidhipara vakyam. Tasya jnanam upadesha. So jnanam is jnapakam. Tasya means dharmasya. How do you know when you refer to the whole Vedas? Which is a statement which makes you know about dharma? Which are those statements which you should take seriously? Because Karma Kanda has so many statements of those which are the most important and principal statements. Tasya jnanam meaning jnapakam, that dharma is known by us. Those statements will pick out. Upadesha. Wherever we find upadesha, upadesha again is whenever we find a vidhi or nisheda, then we know that that is something that is the jnapakam, something that enables us to know that it is dharma. So pick out those statements, they are important statements. That means that the prime portion of the scriptures is dharma, and dharma is known by this upadesha, meaning by this vidhi or nishedha. Tadbhutanam kriyarthena samamnaya. Samamnaya means saha uccharanam. Kriyarthena samamnaya. Sat bhutanam. Whenever any objects are presented by the Vedas, you always find that those objects are presented with reference to some karma alone. Kriyarthena. So you must always, those words which stand for some existing entities, all of them should be uttered along with some verbal termination, meaning kriyartha. The idea there is that any entity is presented like yupa, ahavaniya, or whatever it is, or this vrihi, yava, all of these things are also presented. The point is that in the Karma Kanda you find many statements which have no relation with karma. Like vrihi, yava, some descriptions you will find which do not seem to directly refer to karma at all. Then Jaimini says that whenever you find such statements, or whenever you find any word, always you must connect it with some kriya. Otherwise that word is useless. A word and the meaning of the word serves the purpose by way of being connected with the kriya pada, by being connected to the verb, and therefore every word contributes to the meaning conveyed by the verb directly or indirectly. So the Tikakara will explain. Amnayasya kriyarthatvat anarthakyam atadarthanam. And again that's a sutra in the first sutra in the second quarter, that since Amnaya are devoted to Kriya, therefore any statements, it is a Purvapaksha, any statement that does not directly refer to Kriya or activity should be considered to be useless. Then the Sutrakara there, as we discussed in great length earlier, Sutrakara shows how, even though a statement may not directly refer to a Kriya, it definitely indirectly refers to Kriya, and all the statements are called Arthavada. And that is how there is no Anarthakyam at all. In Veda there is no Anarthakyam because all the statements of Vedas, they are referred to action directly or indirectly. Idicha. So this is Vruddha Sammati. So what's the conclusion? Ataha Purusham Kvasid Vishaya Visheshe Pravartayat. What does Shastra do? Kvachid Vishaya Visheshe Pravartayat. Engaging a person in a specific activity. Kutaschid Vishaya Visheshad Nivartayat. Or resisting him or prohibiting him from particular activity. Arthavat Shastram. Arthavat means Safalam. This is how Shastra becomes meaningful or purposeful, becomes useful. Shastra becomes useful by way of engaging someone into a given activity or refraining him from another activity. And when you find other statements which are not directly of the nature of activity, tat sheshataya cha anyad upayuktam. All Arthavada and all other portions must be also considered to be useful by way of helping indirectly this Kriya, those Vakyas which directly talk about Kriya. Tat samanyat Vedantanabi tathaiva arthavatvam syat. And since Vedanta also is Shastra, and therefore whatever rule applies to Karmakanda should also apply to Vedanta also, because Karmakanda is Shastram, Vedanta also is Shastram, and therefore the same rule should apply. So Vedanta are also to be looked upon as those which are devoted to karma. Rather than merely, Vedantas do not fulfill themselves merely by revealing an existing entity like Brahma. That they do. Here they accept that they do, Brahma is definitely revealed by Vedanta, but that is not the fulfillment of Vedanta, that Brahma is revealed as an object of meditation, not merely for the sake of Brahman. This is how Brahman also is presented as an object of meditation or as a component of an activity. This is the contention here. So go ahead now on page 141. See the second paragraph of Purnananda, Bhashya Kudaha Etadidi. He explains Bhashya because Purnananda does not explain. Ratnaprabha doesn't explain. So Vidisheshatvam Kasmadheto Ityat. That we already saw. Kudaha Etat meaning Kasmadhetoho Kudaha. Anukramanamiti. We don't know where it comes from. Vedatha Sangrahaka Vakya Jatam Ityartha. Anukramanam Shastrasya Karyaparattvameva Bodhayati iti bhavaha. This apparently is not found in the Bhashya anyway. Tadeva upapadayati dashtohi tasyartha. Atra namapadam vyartham. That also you don't find namapadam. Actually, when Bhashyakara says drashtohi tasyartha karmavodhanam nama, that's the whole sentence. Here that word nama is not printed. But in the original Bhashya, drashtohi tasyartha karmavodhanam nama. And so Purnananda says Atra Namapadam Vyartham. That is just only Vakya Alankara. It does not contribute anything. Karma Bodhanam means Karya Jnanam Ityartha or Karyatva Jnanam. That creating in us this conviction that this given thing should be done by me, that is the purpose of Shastra. Tathacha Jnayamanam Karyam Vedartha iti Drashto iti Shavar Bhashya Vakyartha. What is Vedartha? Jnayamanam Karyam. That Karya about which the conviction is created in me, that it should be done by me. That is what, to create that conviction in me is the purpose of Vedas. Then Jnanam Upadesha. Jnanam is Jnapakam, Tasya Jnapakam, Tasya Dharmasya Jnapakam, Upadesha. Wherever you find Upadesha, know that that is Dharma. Upadesha Apaurushe Vidhivakyam. The Vidhivakyam or Nishedavakyam, that is called Upadesha here, and that is Jnapakam. That is a sign or that is something that enables us to know that this is Dharma. Tad Bhutanamidi. Tadbhutaram kriyaarthena samamnaya arthasya tannimittvatvad etava sutramidi vignayam. That whole sutra is of that nature. Alright, now we can go up to Ratnaprabha again. Says in the third line, Kriya, Karyam, Niyogo, Vidihi, Dharmaha, Apurvamadi, Anarthantaram. All these words mean the same thing. Look what Purnananda says, Vyakhyane, Karyaparatvam, Shastrasi, Yuktam. So Purnananda say, Ratnaprabha said, Karyaparatvam, Shastrasi in the first line. At one point you say that Shastra is devoted to Karya. Niyogo Paratvam cha Kutraji Duktam. Elsewhere it said that the Shastra is devoted to Niyoga. Niyoga means instruction or order, direction. Tasya jnanam idyatra dharmabodhakatvam uktam tasya jnapakam. That this vidhi and nisheda etc. are jnapaka, something which enables us to know dharma. So there jnanam iti dharmabodhakatvam uktam. So Shastra gives us knowledge of dharma, also it is said. Shastra gives knowledge of karya, also it is said. Shastra gives knowledge of niyoga, also it is said. Bhashyedu kriyayaha pravartakam. Bhashyakara says, kriyayaha pravartakam, that which impels you in the kriya. Bhashya is there, Shabra Bhashya. Idyatra kriyaparatvam shastrasidi uktam. Tathacha anekarthakatvat katham karyaparatvam eva. It seems that in different places we find different kinds of statements. Karyaparatvam, kriyaparatvam, niyogaparatvam, or dharmasya jnapakam. So all these different words are used for the purport of the Shastra. So all of these things seem to be different. Therefore, says Kriya, therefore Ratnaprabha said, Kriya, Karyam, Niyogaha, Vidihi, Dharmaha, Apurvam. All of these things mean essentially the same. Anarthantaram means in this context they are synonymous. Not that they are synonymous normally. Every word has its own meaning. But in context of this discussion, all these words are to be understood as conveying the same thing. Actually, Apurvam is the effect that is created when you perform a certain action. It creates an unseen, subtle effect that is called Apurvam, which was not there before and which has come into being. Dharma, the primary meaning is that which sustains the dharana dharma. So that fundamental order alone should be called dharma in a primary sense. Vidhi means enjoining. Something that enjoins you into particular action. Niyogaha also essentially means something that directs you. Karyam, that which is something that should be done. And kriya means an activity. So actually each one of these words has its own connotation. Each has its own connotation, has a specific meaning. However, they are interchangeably being used by the Shastrakaras. Therefore we say that in this context, all of these words should be understood to convey the same thing. Shannam ekarthakatva tatparyada ityartha. Anarthantaram means what? All the 6 words have the same tatparya here. Not that they are synonyms, but here they are the same tatparya. As in Vedanta there is Vidya, Jnanam, Bodha, all of these are the same meaning, Or Chaitanyam, Chiti, or Samvit, and Jnanam, all of these also mean the same thing. In that context they mean the same thing. They mean the same entity. Jnanam, Chaitanyam, Chiti, Samvit, all of these refer to the same entity in this case. Not that they should mean the same thing in Vyavahara also. Similarly here, Kriya, Karyam, all of these refer to one entity in this particular case. Okay, now continuing, says Ratnavra, Ko Vedartha iti akankshaayam Shabar Bhashya Kritoktam. Ko Vedartha. What is the Vedartha or what is the purport of the Veda? Iti akankshaayam. When this akanksha or the expectation is there, Shabar Bhashya Krita Uktam. Then this Shabar Bhashya is said here, Drashtohi iti. Drashtohi tasyartha. Tasya means what? Vedasya. Drashtohi tasya vedasya artha. What? Karmavabodhanam. Karmavabodhanam means enabling us to know about karma. That's what he said. So to give us the knowledge, karma means karyatva. To generate in us the knowledge of karma or karyatvam is the purpose of the karmavabodhanam means karya jnanam. To generate in us the knowledge or conviction that a given thing should be done is the purpose of Vedas. Karyam Vedartha ityatra Chodana Sutrastham Bhashyamaha. Chodana Sutrastham means Sutrartha Kathanaparam. That Bhashya will explain that Chodana Sutram, Chodana yadi Kriyayaha Pravartakam Vachanam. Kriyayaha means Niyogasya Jnanadvara Pravartakam Vakyam Chodana yadi Uchyate. So, Kriyayaha Jnanadvara Pravartakam Vakyam. Any Vakya or statement which is Pravartakam, which impels you into an activity by way of creating you the conviction that this particular action should be done, such Vakya is called Chodana. So, Chodana is a Vakya that creates in you a conviction that a given action should be performed. Swami Sammati Muktva Jaimini Sammati Maha Tasya Jnanamidi. Then Jaimini Sutra Tasya Jnanam Upadeshaha. Tasya meaning Dharmasya. Jnanam is Jnapakam. See how the Sutrakaras employ minimum words. Normally Jnanam is not, Jnanam is knowledge. Jnapakam means that which makes me know is Jnapakam. For example, the smoke is Jnapaka of the fire. When you see the smoke, it enables us to understand that there is fire. Smoke is not fire. Smoke becomes what? A means for making me know that there is fire. So that smoke becomes Jnapakam. But then derivatively Jnanam can also be understood to mean Jnapakam. There are different pratyayas are applied, and therefore depending on which pratyaya you look upon, Jnanam also can mean Jnapakam. So there Sutrakara expects us to understand that Jnanam is Jnapakam. Panini does wonder, Panini with his sutras does some amazing things and leaves so much for us to do exercise that it's very difficult. These sutras could not be understood if this Bhashya etc. were not there. It's impossible. Even these sutras also, it requires so much of understanding of grammar and then logic and mimamsa and everything. Then alone you can really understand what their purport is, because they follow certain rules. Alpaksharam, very important for them. Not one syllable should be more than what is necessary. So here, Jnanam is Jnapakam. Apaurusha. What is that? Upadesha is what? Apaurusha Vidivakyam. Upadesha means, although Ratnavara says it earlier, it should Upadesha meaning Apaurusha Vidivakyam. The word Upadesha is used there. So Upadesha means teaching or instruction. So instruction is the nature of Vidivakyam. It is always Apaurusha meaning that which is not within the scope of the Purusha to think of or to conceive. That Vakya is Upadesha. So Tasya Dharmena Avyatireka Ityartha. Since this Vidivakya is always in keeping with Dharma. Bhashyakarta Saraswati, Sutrakarta Bhagavan Jaimini Viveka, Associate Purnanandya, Tasya Dharmena Avyatireka, on the page 142. Vidivakyasya Dharmena Avyavicharitatvad Ityartha. Wherever Vidivakya is there, wherever in the Karmakanda portion there is Vidhi, meaning do this, understand that that is only Dharma. So Vidivakyasya Dharmena Avyavicharitatvad. Vidivakyasya Niyamena Dharmavodakatvad ityavad. That invariably, as a rule, a Vidivakya or a Vakya involving Vidhi always gives you knowledge of Dharma. Tatha yad Vidivakyam tad Dharmavodhakamidi Vyapti Pratipana Parena. So ultimately what that Jaimini Sutra says, Tasya Jnanam Upadesha, when it is said, what is meant is that Upadesha means Apurusha Vidivakyam is Tasya Dharmasya Jnapakam. So, in short, Jaimini says this particular anumanam there, or this particular proposition, Tathacha yad Vidivakyam tad Dharmavodakam. So Jaimini says, wherever Vidivakya is there, Dharmavodakam, it only gives us knowledge of Dharma. So if you want to know what is Dharma in your life, study Vedas. Wherever Vidivakyas are there, know it to be Dharma. What is the Dharma in the life? Wherever Nisheda is there, Adharma. This is it. If you don't understand, then read Smrutis, where they elaborate on these Vakyas, you see. So, Yad Vidivakyam tad Dharmavodakam iti Vyapti Pratipana Parena. This is the Vyapti that is in fact taught by that particular sutra. Iti Jaimini Sri Jaimini Sutrena Shastrasya Niyogapartvam Darshitam. So, this Shastra, which actually, this particular sutra, Tasya, what is it? Tasya Jnanam Upadesha. That particular sutra actually presents this Vyapti, that yad vidhivakyam tad dharma bodhakam. And by this Vyapti, Jaimini indirectly suggests that there Shastrasya Niyoga Paratvam. The Shastra is only committed to the purport of the Shastra, is in Niyoga or is in Vidhi or in Dharma or in instruction or in creating in you the knowledge of Karyatvam. Alright. Now on page 142 again, Ratnavara says, Padanam karyanvitarthe shakti hiti yatra sūtram pathati. Now Bhashyakara presents, Purvapakshi presents in a different way. So tasya jnanam upadesha, that is said. Now tat bhutanam, now quotes another sutra, which says, Padanam karyanvitarthe shakti. Pada means words. And the shakti is, what is the capability of the word in conveying the meaning? So what is the meaning that the words convey? What shakti or the capability or the power that the word has? Word has the power of conveying meaning. Pada always conveys padartha. And this sutra comes in reference to a different kind of a discussion. There in the Purva Mimamsa, the discussion is to prove the pramanyam of the Veda. That Vedas are pramanyam. They are pramanyam because Vedas are nitya. Vedas are nitya, and the relationship between the word and the meaning also is nitya. A word necessarily conveys its meaning. And therefore, word is related to the meaning in an eternal fashion. Meaning, a word must necessarily convey the meaning. And no other meaning also. If a word could convey different meanings at different times, then the words of Vedas also would convey different meanings at different times. Then you will understand different things in the words of the Vedas, in which case they cannot be called pramanam. Imagine, my eyes right now shows this cloth is white. After 5 minutes, the eye shows the cloth is yellow. Then after 10 minutes shows that blue. If this pramana of the eyes gives me different knowledge or different perception at different times, then we know that these eyes are not pramanam, because it does not give me a consistent or invariable or reliable or trustworthy knowledge. Then there is some defect in the eye. Similarly also, if Vedas cannot give me a definite knowledge, if words of Vedas give me different knowledge at different times, in that case they cannot be called pramanam. Words can be called pramanam if the words can convey a specific knowledge. Words of the Vedas must convey a specific knowledge. Therefore, because every word has a specific meaning, and the relationship of the word with that specific meaning is forever. A word forever is connected to the meaning. This is their contention. So, Shabda, Pada and Padartha. Pada means the word and Padartha means the meaning of the word. They are always invariably connected. And therefore, since Vedas are of the nature of words, therefore, they always invariably give the right kind of knowledge. A word must convey the right kind of knowledge. And therefore, the words of the Vedas must convey the right kind of knowledge. Then somebody says, but that is not always so. Very often we say something and it doesn't happen. We say that this afternoon these people should come. We say that tomorrow I will do this. We say that I think this will happen. And very often we find that our words are not true. How do you say that? The word is always connected to the meaning. Otherwise if I say, let there be Rasagulla, Rasagulla should be here. How come it doesn't happen? He says, that shows that the word is not necessarily connected to the meaning, because if the word were connected to the meaning, suppose I utter the word knife, then my tongue must be cut by a knife, because knife means what? The meaning of the word knife immediately should occur in my mouth. Or I say laddu, immediately I must experience the taste of laddu. That doesn't happen. How do you say that the words are connected to the meaning? All these kind of discussions are there anyway, and then they show that your words do not seem to convey meaning, not because the words do not have the power to convey, because you have some problem. It is a defect in you. You have dhurtada, or you have all kinds of ignorance, viparita jnanam, doubts, ineffectiveness is in you. Therefore your words are not effective. And so we find in Vyavahara also, words coming from some people who create such an impact in us, and words coming from elsewhere do not create any impact. Same words. Somebody said, Swamiji, When Pandit Jasraj sings, then we immediately feel something. When his disciple sings the very same thing, it doesn't do that to us. Why is it so? Because there is something in that Pandit which of course a disciple may not have. Could have, but then the idea is that how come the words don't always have an impact? How come the words of the parents do not create impact upon children? Because they have lost their validity. Because they are not honest. They are not consistent. They are not, they are not well-meaning. It's not that the instructions are given to children for the sake of welfare of children. For our own sake, we ask people to do things. Not only for their sake. And therefore, when we have not been really honest and pure, when that purity is not there, the words do not seem to convey the meaning. It is the instrument from where, the vehicle from which the words are uttered, that they are not able to convey the meaning. The vehicle is pure, the words would definitely convey the meaning. This is their conviction. Vedas come from a pure vehicle, namely Ishvara. And even if they seem to come out from the rishis are also pure. Because Lord is Sarvagnya, omniscient, and He knows what is the right medium to convey the Vedas. Therefore, when the Lord inspired the rishis with the Vedic knowledge, or implanted the Vedic knowledge in them, then Lord chose the right vehicle, and therefore the words of the Vedas must necessarily convey the right meaning. If you don't understand, there is some problem with you again. Vedas have no problem at all. So coming out from a source which is pure, and if you are like a rishi whose mind is pure, those words will immediately convey the meaning. That's what people say. That Vedic mantras, it is not that only rishis can see them. You and I also can see them if you can attain the same degree of purity and subtlety. But words always convey the meaning. There is an avaranam which goes away when the right kind of conditions are created. So this is how the Sutrakara that proves that word is invariably related to the meaning. And therefore, the words of the Vedas are invariably related to the meaning. And therefore, they must consistently and truly create the meaning. Therefore, the Veda says, Jyotishtoma Swargakamo Yajeta. That one who performs Jyotishtoma will attain Swarga. He will attain. Tadetat Satyam. There is no question about it. Mantreshu Kavahayani Pasyan. So, whatever this Kavis means, all the Rishis saw in the mantra, all of that comes true. There is no question about it. So, this is how the Pramanya of the Veda is shown there. That's okay. The next question came. That the words always are true to the meaning. But how about a sentence? So Veda is in the form of sentences, not words. So word can convey the meaning, but how do you say that a sentence necessarily conveys the same meaning? If you understand what we are saying here, that word conveys definitely the meaning. But a sentence which consists of several words, how do you say that a sentence also necessarily is true, or it conveys an invariable meaning and no other meaning? Because sentence is not words. A word has a nitya relationship with the meaning, but how can you say that a sentence has an eternal relationship with its meaning? Because nobody accepts a vakya having shakti in vakyartha. A pada has a shakti in padartha, but vakya is not accepted as having shakti in vakyartha. So how do you say that vakyartha also is true or is also invariable? In reference to that, so Jaimini has to prove that Vakya also invariably conveys the meaning, even though Vakya does not have Shakti in Vakyartha. But still Vakya must convey invariable meaning, because Vakya consists of words. Every word conveys its meaning invariably, and he says that these words, Padartha, the meaning of the words then combine with each other, one another, and then convey a composite meaning, a synthetic meaning of the Vakya, which also is true. So, a word is a Jyotishtoma Swargakamo Yajeta. Jyotishtoma is one word, Swargakama is another word, Yajeta is a third word. We accept that each one of these words has invariable relationship with the meaning. But the Vakya that consists of three words, says each one of these words, Jyotishtoma conveys its meaning, Swargakama conveys its meaning, Yajeta conveys its meaning. These three meanings combine with one another and create a meaning, a synthetic meaning, which also is invariable. If you take Vakya, then you cannot say that the Vakya has a Shakti in the Vakyartha. But the pada has Shakti in Padartha, and this Padartha in combination give the Vakyartha, and therefore Vakyartha or meaning of the sentence also is eternal. So that Jaimini proves that just as the relationship of Pada and Padartha is eternal, so also the relationship between Vakya and Vakyartha also is eternal. In that sense, therefore, indirectly we learn that what is the Vakyartha? Vakyartha is always Kriya. And therefore, all the Padarthas also are related to Kriya. That is how, since Vakyartha or the purport of Vakya is always in Kriya, in Vedas, and why Vedas everywhere, Well, in Vedas anyway, in this particular context, and therefore, since it is Padartha which gives rise to the Vakyartha, so Padartha also is related to Kriya, and since Pada gives rise to Padartha, so Pada also is related to Kriya. This is how, although that is not the discussion there, but since the Vakyartha is attained as a result of Padartha, and Vakyartha always in the sense of Kriya, so Padartha is also in the sense of Kriya, that is how they say that the Vedas are devoted to Kriya. This is how the discussion, that's how they read that Vakya and then use it here, you see. That's anyway, so Tad Bhutanam Kriyarthena Samamnaya, Ratnaprabha explains. Tad means Tatra. Tatra means Vede. Tat actually means that, but should be understood as, so Tat Padam Vibhakti Vyatyasena Parishkarodi Tatra. There means what? In the Veda, so Tatra has one more syllable, one more Varana is there. So he uses Tat. In Sutra, you could have said Tatra Bhutanam Kriyarthena Samamnaya. But Tatra has what? 2.5 Varnas there. And Tat has only 1.5. And therefore, Tat is used instead of Tatra. I imagine that's how the style must be anyway. So Tat, you must understand, Tat means Tatra, means Vede. Bhutanam means what? Siddhartha Nishthanam Padanam. Kriyarthena Karyavachana Linga. That Linga is wrong here. Lingadi Padena. Linga is not there. Ka, kha, ga, gha, So Lingadi Padena Samamna means Sahocharanam Kartavyam. That's what the sutra means. Ling, Lord and Tavya. Whenever these kind of pratyas come, then you know that there is an instruction involved there, and the vidhi is there. So idea is that Siddhartha Nishthanam Padanam, all those words which convey the existent objects, such as Vrihi, Yava, Aditya, Yupa, Ahavaniya, all of these, Kriyarthena, meaning Karyavachana, Ling Adipadena, Samamnaya, Saha Ucharanam Kartavyam. You must always connect them with some Kriya. Kriya of the nature of enjoyment. That means every word which should be connected, so a word of a sentence must be connected with Kriya. Because that is how the Padarthas give rise to the knowledge of Vakya, which is always of the nature of Kriya. Says, Padartha Jnanasya Vakyartha Rupa Karyadhi Nimittatvad Ityartha. Why? Padartha Jnanasya, see the knowledge of Padartha, knowledge of the word meaning, Vakyartha Rupa Karyadhi. What is the Vakyartha? Karyadhi. Every Vakya is supposed to create Karyadhi or Kartavyatadhi. That this must be done by me, that kind of a conviction, to create this conviction is the purpose of the Vakya. And since the words ultimately create the Vakyartha, therefore all the Padarthas also must have their purport in creating Karyatvadhi in me. So Karyadhi Nimittatvad Ityartha. So they say that whenever these words are uttered, then they bring in your mind the memory of the meaning of the words. Jyotishtomena. So then that meaning flashes in your memory. Swarga Kamaha, the meaning flashes in the memory. Yajeta, meaning flashes in the memory. So when the words are uttered, they create in you the memory of the meaning of the words, and then they synthesize to create a synthetic or a composite meaning of the sentence. Says the Purana Vijnanadi Padena Saha Ucharita Siddhartha Nishtapada Samudayatmakamnaya Padartha Smritehe Vakyarthadi Nimittatvat Tadvara Karya Rupa Vakyartha Jnana Hetur Bhavadeti Sutra Yojanam Abhipretya Sangrahena Tatparyasamaha. So Saha Ucharita Siddhartha Nishta Pada Samudatmaka Amnaya. Veda is what? pada samudaya, a samudaya or a group of words. Siddhartha nishtha, those words which actually have something to convey about existing entities. So, vijnanadi padena sahaucharita. All these words which talk about existing things are always uttered along with some kind of a verb which gives us a knowledge. That is amnaya or Veda, padartha smritehe vakyarthadi nimittatvat. That the idea is that padartha smriti, the remembrance or memory of the padartha or meaning of a word, gives me the knowledge of vakyartha, gives the knowledge of the vakya. So since the smriti or the memory of the padartha or the meaning of a word becomes a means for making me to understand the meaning of the sentence, indirectly the means for generating in me the knowledge of karyatva, meaning a given thing should be done, and thus impelling me into karya. Because that karyatva dhi impels me into karya. So I am impelled into karya because of karyatva dhi. The conviction about karyatva, that conviction is generated by vakya. And that vakya knowledge is generated by the padartha. Therefore padarthas are also ultimately connected in impelling me into activity. This is how the interpretation is. Sutra yojana, to understand the sutra has so many things, It is sutra yojana, vipretya sangrahena tatparyasamaha karyanvirayati. Says, Ratnaprabha, karyanvitate shaktani padani karyavachi padena saha padartha smriti dvara karyameva vakyartham bodhayanti iti bhavaha. Karyanvitate shaktani padani, that all the words which are one way or the other connected with some kriya, karyavachi padena saha padartha smriti dvara. So when these words are uttered along with a karyavachi pada, meaning along with a kriya pada, so in a sentence there is always a kriya pada, and therefore the words always are connected to the kriya pada. So when the words are uttered, the smriti, the memory of the meaning of the words is there, and since these meanings are all connected with some verb, therefore by that connection, karyameva vakyartham bodhayanti, they also contribute into ultimately creating in me the conviction that this vakya impels me into performance of an act, or gives me a knowledge or that a particular action should be performed. Phalitamaha ataha. So what all this means? Bhashyakara says, ataha purusham kvachit vishaya visheshe pravartayat kutaschit vishaya visheshad nivartayat cha arthavat shastram. Ataha means yataha vruddhaha evam ahuhu. Since the vruddhas, namely Jaimini and Swami said this, therefore vidhi nisheda vakyam eva shastram. So Bhashyakara has so much which is summarized by Ratnaprabha, vidhi nisheda vakyam eva shastram. So shastra is what? Nothing but vidhi and nisheda vakya. Whole of Veda is what? Vidhi vakya and nisheda vakya. That is Veda. All the other sentences are to be connected with vidhi and nisheda, directly or indirectly. That's all. So kvachit vishaya visheshe pravartayat. Go back to page 141. That Purnanandi explains in the second paragraph. Kutaschit vishaya visheshat adharmat surapanadehe ityartha. So anyway, a shastra engages a person into something called dharma and disengages him from that which is adharma, and that is how shastra becomes meaningful or becomes useful. Tat sheshataya च अन्यत उपयुक्तम से रत्नव अर्थवादादिकम तो तत्शेषतया उपयुक्तम उपक्षीणम. So arthavada etc. also, they also become useful by way of helping or supporting that kriya. Tena karma shastrena samanyam shastratvam. And therefore shastratvam is what? Karma shastrena samanyam. Shastratvam is what? Karma samanyatvam is there. That wherever shastra is there, what is shastra? Vidhi and nisheda. What does vidhi and nisheda do? Create activity. And therefore, that which creates activity is shastra. Tasmat Vedantanam karyaparattvena arthavatvam syat. Since Vedanta also is shastra, and shastra means what? Vidhi nisheda vakyam shastram or karyaparatvam shastratvam. Therefore Vedanta also being shastra creates in me, must create in me. They don't say must create in me only a knowledge or conviction that I must do something. If it doesn't happen, let it happen. This is what they would say. Says last line, Shastratva dharmena karma shastra tulyatvad vedantanam. So karma shastrena tulyatvam shastratvam. So Shastratva dharmena, Vedanta also enjoys the dharma of Shastratva. Karma Shastra Tulyatvat, Karma Kanda also is Shastra, Vedanta also is Shastra. So both of them have similarity in terms of Shastratvam. Shastratvam becomes Hetu. For what? For Karyaparatvam. So Vedantanam Karyaparattvena. So Vedas Karyaparaha or Karma Kandaha Karyaparaha Shastratvat. Tasmat Vedanta Karyaparaha Shastratva. That's all. So that Karma Kanda becomes Drishtanta and Vedanta becomes Darshtanta. What is similarity between them? Shastratvam is a similarity. That's the Hetu. And therefore, since Vedanta enjoys the Hetu of Shastratvam, therefore the Sadhya of Karyaparatvam also is proven. The idea is that since Vedanta also is Shastra, it should have the same kind of a trend as the whole Vedas. And the whole Vedas or Karma Kanda has Karyaparatvam or engaging a person in Karya. So Vedanta also must have that Tatparya of engaging the person in Kriya alone. So Bhashyakara said, Tat Samanyat Vedantanamapi Tathaiva Arthavatvam Syat. Tat Samanyat meaning, so Karma Shastrena Samanyat. So since Vedanta also has this Samanata with Shastra, Vedantanamapi Tathaiva. Tathaiva means what? Karyaparattvena Arthavatvam Syat. Vedanta also will become useful by being Karyapara, by giving us the knowledge of that which should be done. Then alone, Vedanta also will have meaningfulness. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sūtra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmedi Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Atha Om Atha Om Atha Tu Samanvayad. Page 142. Ataha Purusham Kvachid Vishay Visheshe Pravartayata Kutaschid Vishayat Vishay Visheshat Nivartayatcha Arthavachastram Tacheshataya Cha Anyadupayuktam Tatsamanyat Vedantanamapi Tathaiva Arthavatvam Syat. Ataha Purusham Kvachid Vishay Visheshe Pravartayat Kutaschid Vishay Visheshad Nivartayatcha Shastram Arthavat Shastram. So Shastram Arthavat, Vedas are Arthavat, meaning they are useful, meaningful, purposeful, in as much as Purusham Kvachid Vishay Visheshe Pravartayat. This is what the Shastra has accomplished, that they engage a person into some specific activity which is a means for the person's welfare. Kutaschit Vishay Visheshad Nivartayat. And again, Shastra also and it requires or makes the person refrain from performing an activity which may be harmful to the person. Arthavat Shastram. In this manner, Shastra becomes Arthavat or useful. So this is how the Vrittikara here, the Purvapakshi, sees the usefulness of the Shastra. And thus it becomes a rule that what is useful, or when do you call a given thing Shastra? Meaning, when do you call the Shastra a Pramanam? Only when that Shastra conveys one of the two messages or instructions, either giving you the knowledge of a means of something that is desirable, or giving you the knowledge of that which will lead you to undesirable, and that is how making you desist from that. Thus, engaging you into activity or disengage you from some other activity is what is the purpose of Shastra. And this is what it does. And suppose you find other statements like Arthavada, which are not directly, which do not have the Tatparya, purport in their own self. However, Tatsheshataya cha anyat upayuktam, all that Arthavada, etc., meaning the explanatory statements or statements of the nature of praise or statement of the nature of condemnation, all these statements only become meaningful by way of helping or being a means indirectly for this pravritti or nivritti. So Arthavada either creates a value for doing something, or Arthavada creates in me a value for not doing something. Thus Arthavada are the statements which create value, which in turn creates in me this desire to do a given thing or not, creates in me a value. And that is how that value is necessary before I can do something. And that's how all other portions of Vedas serve the purpose. Tat samanyat Vedantanamapi, inasmuch as Vedanta also is Shastram or is a Pramanam, and Karmakanda also is Shastram Pramanam, and therefore, inasmuch as for the Shastra to be Pramanam, there must be a message of Pravritti or Nivritti. Therefore, Vedanta also being Pramanam, they should also be of the nature of Pravritti and Nivritti. Tas samanyat Vedantanamapi tathaiva arthavatvam syat. In that manner alone, meaning by engaging a person into activity, by impelling a person into activity, or by desisting a person from another activity, alone Vedanta also can become meaningful, otherwise it is not meaningful. Tasmad Vedantanam Karyaparatvenaiva Arthavatvam Syad Ityartah. And so Upanishads, Vedanta also, only when they are Karyapara, they are also devoted to giving us knowledge of means for some welfare of ourselves, and thus impelling a person into some activity. That how Vedanta also become meaningful. Now continuing the discussion, in Ratnaprabha it is said, the line third from the bottom, Nanu Vedanteshu Niyojyasya Vidheyasya cha Adarsanat Katham Karyadhihi. In Vedanteshu Niyojyasya Vidheyasya cha. We don't find in Vedanta Niyojya is the one who is instructed. So Vidhi means enjoyment. Vidheya, that which is enjoined. And Niyojya is the one who is enjoined. So we do not find in Upanishad addressing themselves and telling a person that you do this or you do that. For example, Jyotishtomena Swargakamo Yajeta. In a statement like this, that the one who is desirous of Swarga or the heavens, may he perform this Jyotishtoma Yaga as a means for attainment of heavens. The Swargakama becomes what? Niyojya, the person who is asked to perform the action, and Jyotishtoma becomes Vidheya, that which should be performed in order to accomplish the desired end. So we do not find Brahman being enjoined as a means for attainment of something, nor do we find an instruction to a mumukshu that you must gain the knowledge. That knowledge doesn't become something that is instructed, nor Brahman becomes something that becomes a means for attainment of something. Thus we do not find in Upanishad any statement wherein there is a niyojya or vidheyasya cha darshanat katham karyadihi. So how do you say that? There is karyadihi, meaning how can you say that the Upanishads create in us dhi or buddhi for karya? That is how the person is impelled into an activity. The statements of Vedas create in him a karyati. Hey, I should do this. This should be done by me. For the simple reason that there is in me a desire to achieve something like Swarga. And then this Jyotishtoma is presented as a means for attainment of Swarga. And therefore in me is created this buddhi that I should do Jyotishtoma yaga because I am interested in Swarga. So actually Vedas do not say that you perform something. Swarga kamo yajeta. One who is desirous of Swarga should perform a particular yaga. Inasmuch as I am desirous of Swarga, therefore I should perform a given yaga. Now who is the mumukshu? The one who is free from all desires. And therefore, how can he become Niyojya? And what is Brahman? Something that is already achieved. Or Moksha, something already achieved. How can it become Sadhya? This is what a Vedantin keeps in mind. Although this is not understood by the Purupakshi. And he will therefore show you that there is a Niyojya also and Videya also. But Vedantin innocently says that we do not find any reference to what we call Niyojya or Videya, that a particular adhikari is addressed, and is asked to do a given thing, and a particular thing is presented as a means for accomplishment of the desired end, Videya. Katham karyadihi tatraha sati chaiti, Purupakshi continues. Says Bhashya, sati cha vidiparatve yatha swargadikamasya agnihotradi sadhanam vidiyate evam amrutattvakamasya brahmajnanam vidiyate iti yuktam satija vidiparatve. Just as now we have proved by the earlier discussion that there is Vidiparatvam. So we have shown that Vedanta also is Shastra. According to them, what is Shastra? What is Pramanam? Or Shastra is that which either impels you into activity or discourages you from another activity. That alone is called Shastra. And Vedanta being Shastra also should either impel you into activity or this should discourage you from some other activity. Saticha, that being the case, Vidiparatve, Saticha Vidiparatve, that Vedanta also is proven to be Shastra, which is Vidiparam, meaning which is also devoted to Vidhi. Yatha Swargadikamasya Agnihotradi Sadhanam Vidhiyate. Swargadikamasya, for the one who is desirous of Swarga, who is called Niyojya. Agnihotradi Sadhanam Vidhiyate, that is called Vidheyam. So how Agnihotra etc. is presented as a means for attainment of Swarga for a person who is desirous of Swarga. Evam, in the same manner also, where do you find in Upanishads also this Niyojya and Videya? Amrutatva kamasya, the one who is desirous of Amrutatvam or immortality. Brahmajnanam vidiyate, the person who is desirous of immortality, for him the Brahmajnana is enjoined. Iti yuktam, that is proper. See, then you will find this. See, iti yuktam, he doesn't say it is there, but iti yuktam. Since Vedanta also is Shastra, and Shastra must be Vidhiparam, and therefore there must Vidhi or enjoyment is possible when there is someone to whom instruction can be given, and there is something for which the instruction is given, and something is presented as a means for attainment of that. So all of these elements must be there for any instruction. And therefore it is accepted also that when Vedas give instruction, it is always for the welfare of the person. Because Veda is nirdushta pramana. When an ordinary person gives instruction, it may not necessarily be for the welfare of the one who is instructed. It may be that this person also has some axe to grind or some, therefore I may give instruction to someone. But not so for Vedas. When they give instruction, then it is always for the welfare of the person. And therefore, in the instruction, always is given the knowledge of a means which will be beneficial to that person for achieving that goal. And therefore, these elements must be there in Upanishad also. So first it starts with the proposition or hypothesis. Just as and a person who conducts the experiment first starts with a hypothesis. Here also he starts, Amrutattva kamasya brahmajnanam vidhiyate iti uktam. It is only proper that for the one who is desirous of immortality, that brahmajnanam is enjoined as something to be done in order to attain that immortality. So brahmajnanam becomes a means and immortality becomes the end. So amrutattvam also must become sadhyam. If amrutattvam or immortality also is something that is sadhyam or something to be achieved, then of course you require a means in order to achieve that. So brahmajnanam is the means for attainment of this immortality, which is something to be achieved. And this alone is yuktam, this alone is proper. Okay, when this is said, then immediately Vedantin will present his position. So says here, Ratnaprabha, in the same page, Nanu, Dharma Brahma Jignasa Sutrakarabhyam, Ihe Kandadvaya Arthavedaha Uktaha. So now the Vedanta says, look, we have a Dharma Jignasa Shastram and Brahma Jignasa Shastram. We have this Purva Mimamsa and we have Uttara Mimamsa. Jaimini has composed the sutra for Dharma Jignasa, means Dharma Vichara, and Badarayana has composed sutra for Brahma Vichara. And therefore, naturally, these are two different Shastras, having its own Anubandha Chatushtaya. Otherwise, there is no need for Badarayana to separately compose sutras for Brahma Jignasa, had it not been for another Adhikari, had it not been for some other end, had it not, when Anubandha Chatushtaya had it not been different, there would have been no need for Badarayana to compose this Uttara Mimamsa Shastram. Therefore, Sutrakarabhyam, there are two Sutrakaras, Jaimini and Badarayana. Ihe Kandadvaya Arthavedaha Uktaha. By the very act of composing this Brahma Sutra, the Sutrakara implies that this is a Shastra having a different Anubandha. And because otherwise, there was no need for Badarayana to have composed this Brahma Sutra at all. So, Kandadvaya Arthavedaha Uktaha. These two Kandas, Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda, have different Artha or different Prayojanam or different purpose to serve. This is already implied by their very activity of writing this sutra. Why is it so? Eka karya sattve shastra bheda anupattehe. If Uttara Mimamsa is one shastra which is different from Purva Mimamsa, then if both, then you cannot call them two separate shastra. Eka karya sattve, if both of them have to accomplish the same purpose, then you cannot say that they are two different shastras. Therefore, you see, this is approaching different way. Just as they are approaching, one way, that it is yuktam, vidhiyate it is yuktam, then we say that, alright, since Badarayana has composed this, therefore there must be a different purpose. So accept it that way. It says, Tatra, and what, alright, in what way do you think, he will ask you, in what way do you think that this Brahma Vichara Shastra is different from the Karma Vichara Shastra? Then he explains, Tatra Kandadve Jignasya Bhede Sati Phalavailaksanyam Vachyam. See, Vishaya is Jignasya. In Anubandha Chatushtaya we have Vishaya, Prayojanam, Adhikari and Sambandha. So Jignasya means that which is the object of inquiry is Jignasya. That's the Vishaya. So what's the Vishaya of the Purva Mimamsa? Dharma. Athato Dharma Jignasa. What's the Vishaya of Uttar Mimamsa? Brahma. Athato Brahma Jignasa. So Dharma is different and Brahma is different. So Vishayas are different. And when Vishaya are different, naturally an inquiry into different Vishaya must lead you to different phala. Otherwise they are not different Vishayas. So inquiry into them should lead you to different ends. So phala vailakshanyam. Jignasya bhede sati phala vailakshanyam vachyam. Since the Vishayas are different, the inquiry or the knowledge of those Vishayas must give you a different result. If knowledge of Brahman gives the same result as knowledge of Brahman, and then Dharma and Brahman need not be separated. And therefore, since they are to separate, therefore, phalavailakshanam vachyam. Tathacha. Alright, so what do you say then? Then again Vedantin continues. Tathacha mukti phalaya jnanasya vidheyata. Muktehe vidheya kriyajanyatve कर्म फलात् अविशेष प्रसंगात् अविशेषे जिज्ञास्य भेद असिद्धे है तथा च न मुक्ति फलाय ज्ञानस्य विधेयता. Therefore, we say that mukti falaya, for attainment of mukti or the moksha, jnanasya na vidheyata, that jnanam cannot be presented as vidheyam, as something to be done. So it cannot be that knowledge is presented as something to be done, or which is an object of, which is the vishaya of the instruction for attainment of mukti. Muktehe vidheya kriya janyatve karma phalat avishesha prasangat. If mukti or the moksha also is generated as a result of vidheya kriya, as I said, vidheya is that which is enjoined, like Agnihotra. Vidheya kriya is performance of Agnihotra. As a result of you get what? Swarga, which is phala. Here Brahmajnanam becomes vidheyam, something to be done, and then by performance of this Brahmajnanam, or by doing Brahmajnana, whichever way it is done, suppose mukti is attained, then mukti also becomes karma phala, and swarga also becomes karma phala. In which case, that phala visheshatvam is not there. Both of them fall in the category of karma phala, in which case, swarga and mukti do not fall in different categories. Both fall in the categories of being karma phala or result of an action. So, karma phalat avishesha prasangat. Mukti also becomes karma phalam, and swarga also becomes karma phalam, avishesha prasangat. There is no distinction between them. And therefore, avisheshe jignasya bheda asiddhehe. And if both of them are karma phala, then that means that jignasya, that vishaya also becomes the same, in which case this kanda dvayam, these two separate kandas are not justified. The fact that two separate kandas are there, therefore the vishaya must be different, therefore the phala must be different, and swarga is what? So vidheya karyajanyam, and however moksha cannot be vidheya karyajanyam, meaning moksha cannot be a karma phala, otherwise it will not be different from swarga. अतः कर्म फल विलक्षणत्वात् नित्य सिद्ध मुक्ते तद व्यंजक ज्ञान विधि अयुक्त है आशंकते. Therefore, कर्म फल लक्षण कर्म फल विलक्षणत्वात्, since mukti is not karma phala, swarga is karma phalam, mukti or moksha cannot be karma phala. Nitya siddha mukta hai, because moksha is nitya siddha, atma is nitya mukta, and therefore moksha also is nitya siddha. As we have been saying every day, that which separates me from moksha is not any distance, merely ignorance. Therefore, it is only removal of ignorance that is called for, and not a performance of some action or doing something. Because moksha is not utpadya, karya, etc. And therefore, tad vyanjaka jnana vidhi ayukta. Is moksha is jnana vyanjaka. Moksha is something that is revealed. What is revealed? That which is already an existing thing can be revealed by knowledge. What knowledge does is to reveal something that is existing. So moksha also is nitya siddha. And therefore Brahmajnana, what does it do? It just reveals the moksha, the swarupa of the moksha. So therefore jnanam, all it does is to reveal something. And that is the karma phala. Phala of the jnanam is immediate. Is what? That it reveals the object that is to be revealed. And that's all. Therefore, you cannot say that jnanam, which all that it does is doesn't change anything. It merely reveals an existing thing that cannot become the vishaya or object of vidhi. And therefore, tad vinjika jnana vidhi ayukta. Vidhi is, by the way, masculine, Although in Gujarati they give the name vidhi, means feminine name. Anything that is ikaranta, samadhi also is feminine. It's not. Samadhi also is a masculine name. In Sanskrit anyway. And so here in Gujarati, vidhi would be the name of. So somewhere else in Delhi, one little girl was brought and Swami, inka naam lagaya Mahima. Except Mahiman happens to be a masculine word, Mahima is, so anyway, whatever it is. So, vidhi ayukta hiti ashankate. So therefore, this vidhi is not proper. This is what Vedantin presents it out and elicits all answers from this fellow so that you can answer them. We have to know what exactly is his thinking and how does he think about different aspects. When he is thinking, that's why Purvapaksha is so elaborate. That his thinking on all aspects becomes clear to us, and then we can address this point one after the other. Nanu ihaiti. And so this Shanka is presented and then answer is given by the Purvapakshi. Says on page 143 Bhashya, Nanu iha jignasya vailakshanya muktam karma kande bhavyo dharmo jignasya ihatu bhutam nitya nirvrittam brahma jignasyamiti tatra dharma jnana phala anusthanapekshat virakshanam brahma jnana phalam bhavitum arhati. Nanu iha jignasya vailakshanya muktam. So this we already discussed. This Purva Paksha is jignasya vailakshanya muktam. Karma kande, in this particular discussion now, we have to accept that there is a vailakshanyam or a distinction between jignasya, meaning between the Vishaya of karma kanda and jnana kanda. What's the difference? Karma kande bhavyo dharma. Bhavya means janya, as it said. So bhavya means that which will happen in future. So dharma is something that occurs as a result of performance of an action. Dharma is not generated by knowledge of dharma. Swarga kamo yajeta, by knowing that swarga does not happen. You must perform an action for the swarga to take place. So dharma of the nature of swarga or dharma of the nature of punya or apurva also is generated as a result of performance of an action. So bhavya hai, dharma hai, jignasya hai. There in karma kanda, the jignasya vishaya, the vishaya or the subject that is deliberated upon is dharma, which is something that has to happen. Ihatu, however, here in Vedanta or in the Uttara Kanda, Jnana Kanda, Bhutam Nitya Nirvrittam Brahma Jignasyam. Here on the other hand, Brahman, which is Bhutam. Bhutam means which is already existing. Nitya, which is eternal. Nitya Nirvrittam, which is ever free or ever liberated. Ever of the nature of Ananda, ever complete. So that Brahman becomes what? Jignasyam. That becomes the object of inquiry. So dharma is something that is to take place in future and Brahma is a fact existing now. Therefore Vedanta always deals with realities, deals with the way life is. Vedanta's focus of attention is on the life as it is, not on the way it should be, really speaking. Therefore it is an inquiry into the nature of realities as they are. Because it is not the ignorance of the realities alone is the problem. And that's why all that Vedanta does is, and every science does that. It is technology which uses that science to create things. Science has nothing to do with that. People say, science had brought all the destruction. Science cannot bring destruction. Science can only bring knowledge. Technology has brought destruction. Technology cannot bring destruction. What brings destruction? Human mind brings destruction, which can abuse a given thing. So you have a certain knowledge which you can abuse in order to destroy somebody. The very same knowledge could also be used. So it is unnecessary to blame science and technology. Those are the things which are actually blessings to us. But except that we are misusing them, and that's what it is. Regardless of that, idea is that science always deals with what is. And Vedanta also deals with what is. Technology deals with what is to be done. So Karma Kanda deals with what is to be accomplished. Because also when requires. Inasmuch as two things are there, that I require certain things, because I don't have them, and I have to know certain things. And so these are always the two things in life. So we say that this dharma, Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda altogether have different kind of pursuits. These pursuits are quite distinct from each other. And therefore, tatra, so thus when this jignasya vailakshanya sati, when this jignasya vishaya Brahma, which is already in existing reality, and dharma, which is something to be created, when such a distinction is there between the objects of inquiry, dharma jnana phalat anusthana apekshat, that phalam, dharma jnana means knowledge of this vidhi nisheda, or knowledge of agnihotra, etc. So when you gain the knowledge of such statements as jyotishtomena swarga kamo yajeta, one desires of heavens, may he perform jyotishtoma as a means for attainment of heavens. When you learn this, then anusthana apekshat, this knowledge of dharma calls for an anushtanam, actual performance of that karma. Otherwise, so nice would it have been that merely by uttering the word swarga, that swarga happens. As I say, if word always goes with its meaning, the utterance of word swarga should take place. It doesn't take place. And that was the point is, swarga does not take place because you have to do something in order to achieve swarga. Why? It doesn't take place in you. You don't have that purity, or you don't have that thing that is required really to make the word realistic. So that action is required in order to make that word realistic. That's all it is. Actually, word must create its meaning. The fact that it does not create is because something is missing here. So you must fulfill what is missing there in order to make that word, Anyway, this is our interpretation here. But that has to be that. If according to the Purva Mimamsakas, the Shabda and the Artha, both of them have an eternal Nitya relationship, they must take place. There are some obstacles which prevent them from taking place. So therefore, this karma eliminates that obstacle. In terms of, it is not that Swarga is attained elsewhere. It's attained right here. There is always a transformation in bhava. Even though we actually attain Swarga in terms of some place and distance, etc., it is not so. Before one can go to Swarga, that bhava or that state must be created in my own mind. I cannot go to Swarga. Yam yam va vismaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tameva iti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavitah. If utterance of a word creates that bhava in you, that thing is created for you. If it doesn't create, therefore bhavayet. So Karmakanda says that you must do this bhavana of Swarga with the help of Jyotishtoma. So while performing Jyotishtoma, may you have the bhavana of Swarga. Ultimately that becomes your bhavana and Swarga is created. Okay, will be created after the death because this body is an obstacle. But the thing is, removal of obstacle is the only thing, nothing else, And that is how. However, so this dharma jnana phalad anusthana apekshat. The knowledge of dharma requires the anushtanam in order for you to achieve that, the end. Vilakshanam brahma jnana phalam bhavitam arhati. However, Brahma, which is already an existing fact, doesn't have to be achieved. There is no obstacle of bhava in that case. There is an obstacle in terms of ignorance. So there, bhava has to be created in order for swarga, etc. Things other than you require bhava to be created. Yourself doesn't require any bhava. It just requires knowledge, So that is the difference. That's why Siddha Vishaya and Sadhya Vishaya have this difference. When you want to know God or have darshan of God who is other than you, bhava is required. That's why meditation is required. And you must really make your mind, so saturated with that thought that then God appears in front of you in whichever form you want. You have attained that bhava because of saturation of that idea. So it is saturating the mind with a given idea, swarga, swarga, swarga. That the swarga happens, you see. And so that's the capacity, ability that the mind has. You don't require that ability here in case of Brahman because Brahma is already an existing fact. So no bhavana is required. That's why they are against bhavana. And you will find that all these people who emphasize knowledge are all against bhavana. They think this bhavana business is an obstacle. Read Krishnamurti, he will dismiss all bhavana. All japa and stuff like that he will dismiss. Because it always thinking of something which is not here keeps you actually deprived of reality that is there, And so anyway, they don't know the strength of the bhavana, or if they know it anyway, they have not made it clear, but the bhavana has a great strength also. So we are not dismissing it. All we are saying is how the spheres of activity are quite different. Creation ultimately is what? Out of sankalpa. It is not that the first creation was from sankalpa, every creation is of sankalpa. If your sankalpa is strong enough, right away things are created. Ishvara is Satya Sankalpa, so he doesn't require any effort other than Sankalpa to create this world. Otherwise, Upadana, all kinds of Karanas are required. You and I require these Karanas because our Sankalpa doesn't have that strength. Ishvara doesn't require Upadana because actually Sankalpa alone is creation. So also if you want to create wealth for yourself, anything you want to create, saturate your mind with that. And then the thing gets created. So all this karma ultimately becomes a means for saturating your mind. Money, money, money. So you work for the whole month. That's why the Lord Krishna says, don't saturate your mind with karma phala. It's is worthless thing. Saturate it with something else. Saturate your mind with God. So Karma Yoga again becomes a means of saturating your mind. So Lord Krishna, what are you saturating your mind with? Is it a worthwhile thing to saturate your mind with karma phala and all the time perform an action for a certain end? No. Krupanaha phalahetavaha. People who saturated mind merely for karma, krupanaha. They just don't know the value of what they can do. And therefore, buddhau sharanamanvicha. May you have the bhavana of buddhi, means Ishwararpana buddhi. So if you want to saturate your mind, saturate with Ishvara. Let karma become a means to enable you to saturate your mind with Ishvara. So there, in yoga also, there is saturation of mind is required. Then you attain a certain frame of mind which is required for the knowledge to take place. That's why first bhava comes. That's all yoga. Yoga Shastra is nothing but bhava. As we said, it is not really transformation from one embodiment to another embodiment. It is transformation from one bhava to another bhava. So the next birth already appears before you. That's what Brihadaranyaka says. That the person before departing sees before him what is going to follow. A light happens. Light means he sees in front of him what is going to be in the next destination, and then he proceeds. So that bhavana is maintained for the whole of his life. Therefore that bhavana appears before him, and that actually determines his destination. In any case, anusthana apeksha dharmajnana phalad virakshanam brahmajnana phalam bhavitum arhati. That brahmajnana phalam, the result of brahmajnana, must be distinct from that of dharmajnanam, because one is an existing entity which requires seeing, other is an entity to be created which requires saturating your mind. You know, this activities of mind are different. Both may be mental activity, all right, but activities are different. And one is an activity to see, another is an activity to visualize. Says here, Ratna Brahma, Mukte karma phalad vailakshanyam asiddham. Now how is the Purva Pakshi going to answer? Mukte karma phalad vailakshanyam asiddham. Who says mukti is already achieved? We say mukti or moksha also is something to be acquired. So moksha also is karma phala. And therefore there is no vailakshanyam. There is no distinction between mukti and swarga. Inasmuch as both of them are karma phala. In that sense, there is no distinction. Iti, therefore, tadartham jnanam vidheyam. Inasmuch as moksha also is something to be attained, therefore, jnanam also is to be enjoyed. That jnana cannot mean seeing, that jnana only can mean bhava, understand. When something is enjoyed, what can you do? You can always saturate your mind with a certain bhavana. Therefore, these people will interpret jnana only as bhavana, meaning as upasana or meditation. So when he says jnanam vidheyam, he means that upasana or meditation must be enjoined in order to create mukti, which also is a phala, which will happen as a result of maintaining this bhava. Nachatarhi safalam karyameva vedanteshu api jignyasamiti tad bheda asiddhi vacyam. Then we will tell him that what's the distinction now between this karma kanda and jnana kanda? That karma kanda also deals with swarga, which is to be attained, and jnana kanda also deals with mukti, which is to be attained. Both of them are karma phala. Then what was the need for Badarayana to compose this another shastra? So Vedante Shubi Jignasyam Tad Bheda Asiddhi Safalam Jignasyam Karyameva Jignasyam. So in Vedanta also something to be done, Brahman, which is something to be done with. That just as dharma is something to be done with, Brahma also is something to be done with, in which case that Jignasa Vishaya or object of inquiry in Vedanta also is an action and karma phala. Tad bheda siddhi, in which case we do not find any bheda or distinction between karma kanda and jnana kanda. Therefore, you cannot justify how this separate kanda has come about. He says, don't say that. Ishtatvat, we don't say that these are two separate shastras. Who says that Uttar Mimamsa or Jnana Kanda is separate from Karma Kanda? Except basically Jnana Kanda emphasizes Upasana and Karma Kanda may emphasize rituals. In this manner you may have some kind of a distinction, yes, but Inasmuch as both of them involve activity, and in both of them the karma phala has to be created, we do not see any distinction. Ishtatva, this is. Yes, in fact, according to us, this Jnana Kanda should be included in Karma Kanda only. There is no need to call it a separate Shastra. Then again we'll say, that's not right. Athado Brahma Jignasa, it very clearly says. As against Rasado Dharma Jignasa. Therefore, Sutrakara has first composed the first sutra as an inquiry into Brahman, as vichara of Brahman, for knowledge of Brahman. And therefore the whole purpose of the Brahma Sutra or the Uttar Mimamsa is knowledge of Brahman. And therefore, what Sutrakara says Asado Brahma Jignasa would become redundant or wrong. He says, don't say, Nacha Brahmana Jignasyatva Sutra Virodha. That, don't say that the Athado Brahma Jignasa, where Brahma is presented as a Vishaya of Jignasa, that it contradicts, our conclusion contradicts this particular sutra and the proposition of pratigna of the Sutrakara. Don't say that. Sutrakara has made a pratigna there. Athato Brahma Vichara. So kriyate. Now Brahma Vichara is now going to be performed for knowledge of Brahman. And therefore this pratigna, your conclusion that Brahma also becomes only an object of activity, then that conclusion gets opposed to this proposition on the part of the Sutrakara. He says it is not. Jnana vidisheshatvena